Hey everybody, Art Wood Mortgage Team, your favorite mortgage guy on the planet. If you didn't know, just ask me, I will tell you. Welcome to Putting the Real in Real Estate. I think we're on episode number 8, but we've had such awesome guests and such an awesome time that I've lost count. But today, we have an old friend of mine, Kimberly Yates, Yates Estates. Well, we'll get into that. So before we get into that, tell us a little bit about, thank you first and foremost for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
She had to come all the way from Lake Lanier, and it took her an hour and a half to get here, basically. So
just the time of day.
That's what you do. That's what you do for good friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, tell us a little bit about you, your family, career, whatever you want to tell the viewing public.
Oh, well,
millions of people that you're talking to.
Well, you know, I've been in retail all my life, but when I was settling down and decided to start a family, I wanted a flexible career.
Yeah.
A lot of people get into real estate thinking it's a flexible career. Kids were
thinking it's a flexible career.
So my kids were 1 or 2 years old. I got my real estate license, hung my license at a brokerage a couple doors down from my neighborhood.
You were 22, you said, when you did it?
No. It was about 22 years ago.
Okay.
And that's what I'm not sure if I'm supposed to disclose my age.
You can disclose whatever.
Friend, I was wondering what you were referring to.
We are approximately the same age, if you're wondering. She looks much younger, but anyway.
Just being in retail all my life, that first year I sold 30 homes. So I was Rookie of the Year for the real estate board because we had to join a board at that particular brokerage at that particular time. And, I was told that I just got hooked. I quickly found out it was not flexible, but because of how rewarding, it can be, not only financially, but with all the people you meet and how every day is different. And it's just exciting. And, you just ride the wave. Thank goodness I had a family that supported me. My kid's first, sentence was, Kimberly Yates, how can I help you?
No,
I'm not joking. I am not joking. First phrase. So anyway, so it went from 10 years at that brokerage. Didn't leave because I was unhappy. Was recruited by a lot of brokerages. Went to another brokerage for a year. Wasn't quite happy. I guess comparing it to the first brokerage where you're so comfortable, with everybody you've worked with. And you just start knowing so many people, not only in the business, outside of the business with what we do, whether it be mortgage brokers, other brokers, real estate agents, attorneys. Everybody was just like, just start your own company. And so 11 years ago, I just started my own company when I wasn't happy with making the move and I didn't feel like I should step back. So now I have my own brokerage. We are a full service brokerage, property management, commercial, residential, real estate, land.
And it's called
Yates Estates.
I think it would have been about 11 years ago.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
I remember going to Real Estate Connections and meeting this guy that you always have to tell me his name. I remember what he was saying.
Do I have to say his name?
No, you don't. No.
Let's just say PV.
Okay, okay, we'll go with that. And he's like, I work for Yates Estates and Kimberly, and I'm like, I gotta meet her.
We're talking about a different person.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, he's a great agent.
Okay.
He went to work for. Because that's another thing you have. Unfortunately, people go back and forth. We're all, kind of in business for ourselves. So sometimes, it's very easy to jump ship. But yeah, he's working for a national home builder now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much that I really want to unpack in what that last 3 minutes dialogue was. What do you feel like? So the reason I like doing this podcast is, number one, misery loves company with agents. To say, look, there's other folks that feeling the same way that I'm feeling, having the same struggles, but also for the general public, they think it is, they just hop in a car and make millions of dollars, and so to show that
and you just show pretty homes.
That's exactly right.
Part of
and or you shouldn't make the amount of money you do because all you're doing is a glorified taxi driver. And I'm like, come on, you have no idea. But so really what I find is so many folks get into it and that first year is tough. So what did you do differently? What do you feel like was the difference, separated you from the pack between the 95% of the people that failed their first year to the 5% of the people that are successful?
I learned from my mistakes.
Okay.
And there's one particular story that I've repeated several times, no longer embarrassed about it. It's just, you need to learn.
Sure.
But I was probably 3 months in the business. I was lucky enough that one of my neighbors in my neighborhood that was a really good friend of mine, our kids grew up together. We're still very good friends. And she had 2 investment properties. And I think everybody knows that we're in Atlanta when we're recording this, right? So it's Sandy Springs, hot city.
Okay, yeah.
At the time I was living in Cumming.
Okay.
She goes, hey, we have these investment properties in Sandy Springs. We're going to let you list them. Well, guess what? That was my first 2 listings.
Really?
So I got a listing like within the first week or 2 of my career. So now I'll hang on that for a minute. Listings, you live. Okay.
Yep.
So when you have listings, you can grab buyers, you can sell them other properties. So, I mean, I was lucky to get that. So for you all that are new in the business and, you need to get that listing, you almost have to spend money before you make money. So even though I did get those 2 listings from a very good friend of mine, we all have very good friends. We all have family members. We all have neighbors. Certainly, do that. But gosh, 22 years ago, I was mailing out pens with my name and phone number on. I was mailing out, magazine covers. I was doing, calendars and mailing them to certain neighborhoods. So I was doing all sorts of stuff. But anyway, that's how I got my first 2. And Grant, I promise you, I spent $20,000 or $30,000 before I made my first $20,000 or $30,000. But that's okay. As I said, it paid off. So I got these listings, and they were so busy, because they were investment properties in Sandy Springs. My phone was ringing all the time. Answer your phones, agents. Back then, texting wasn't that big, but answer your phone. I promise you, there would be 100, 200, 300 phone call days.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And back then, that was all business. You don't get that these days. These days, your cell phone's sold to services, and yeah, we get, angry that 100 phone calls a day are trying to sell you something, but you don't want to miss an opportunity. So anyway, I was answering my phone calls. I was, trying to accommodate people, but on this one particular life lesson was I had someone want to see the listing in Sandy Springs. And my kids were 2 or 3, as I mentioned, and I just picked them up from daycare. And I told them that I was going to take them to Michael's. We were going to go home and do a little project. Someone called and was really hot about seeing one of these listings. And they really wanted to make a decision. They needed to make a decision. I said, that is great. How does tomorrow morning work for you? Now, they said, is that the earliest? And I said, well, as long as it works for you, I could maybe try to work something else out, maybe see if someone else in my office can show you. But, I can do tomorrow. I was just testing her. If she would say, no, I have to see it tonight, I probably would have worked it out. But she said she had some flexibility. So we made an appointment to meet her the next day at 10:30 in the morning at that property. Got there at 10:30 in the morning. I kind of sat there for 30 minutes, started calling her and all this other stuff. Finally got a response about an hour later that she had went down the road, same street. That listing, was on the market. That agent responded to her also. That agent showed her the home, and she had put that home under contract with that agent
the day before.
So that was really gut-wrenching. Yeah. And so...
Especially for the first one.
Yeah, and that would have been my first closing, yeah. And so I really put the pedal to the metal because I thought I was doing good, doing the marketing, going to the meetings, wearing my name badge every day, whether I was at Kroger, picking up the kids, I was passing out the cards, telling everybody I was in real estate. I'd love to work with them. So that just made me realize that even though I was doing all that, I need to realize that we're on their time. We're on the client's time. They're giving us an opportunity, not the other way around. Right. And so I did put the pedal to the metal, and within 12 months, I'd sold 30 homes.
God, this should probably be an hour-long podcast. But do you feel, even at this point in your career, 22 years later, that you still have that same mentality of drop everything and go?
I'm going to say, if you want to be successful, that's what you need to do. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that those 2 kids, that their first phrases were, Kimberly Yates, how can I help you? Even though they went to Georgia and they graduated college.
Go Dogs!
Their father wanted them to have something to fall back on. After they got their degrees, they are now with Yates Estates. They're licensed real estate agents, and that is their full-time job. Yep. They do pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. My son made $84,000. It's tax day, by the way. It won't be when you post this, but April 15th. And he made $84,000 the first year. My daughter made $63,000 first year. So they are with me.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm going to say is, if I wanted the same momentum, absolutely you do. But I think it's easier because you don't have to spend. I mean, those magazine ads were $3,000, $4,000. Was, postcards back then used to be so expensive with a printing. And so you don't, the marketing dollars are spent differently. Your time is free-ish. But yeah, if you want to do it. But no, I am to the point where I had a lot of success. Within the first 10 years, I was selling about 200 to 250 homes a year. I was the first one that kind of had a team in my whole office. Teams became a thing because of the necessity of what was happening in 2013, 2014, 2015. You had to throw out tons of offers to win properties because everything, 70% of the things on the market were, foreclosures, and you were going after investors. It's still the same here, but it's just a little different. So yeah, I had started hiring people, people that just stayed in the office and answered phones and let me know if there was counter offers to present, helped out with amendments and calling attorneys. And then of course I had other agents that were out in the field and helped me with open houses so I could do one. By the way, every Saturday and Sunday of every month was an open house. And I liked to do them, but if something came up, I would have someone to fall back on to do the open house. So yeah, it is important, but no, I'm sorry. I do cap myself now at about 40, 45 hours a week. I've been in the business, over 20 years, and I am going to, phase it down. It is a brokerage that I own. It's going to remain a family business, and I want my kids to rise up. And also, I want to help others. Don't we get there? I mean, if we're so proud of the success that we've had, what else is there in life but to help others be successful?
Yeah, no, I would say the same thing. There was another agent that is a good friend of mine. She's great, and she doesn't see herself building a team. She was, like you, very successful the very first year, and really has done well. She's only been in it 5 years, and I challenged her some because the only way to scale, and not work 80 hours a week is to hire the team. I mean, TR, my loan partner on the other side of the camera, Jack, that's in Connecticut, is my processor, and Eddie's my marketing person. I just got back from a week in Ireland. I didn't open my computer once. I was on the phone, but it either enables you to make more money or make the similar amount of money in less time, less effort.
I promise you, my team got up to about 12 people. Because in today's dollars, I was probably pushing about 100 million. This was back then, so 30, 40 million is what I was selling.
Sure.
And a year, and the transactions, as I already mentioned, the number. But I mean, I knew that, if I had a night that I absolutely could not go to bed because I had too many emails to return, because you have to return all your emails if you're going to be successful. You have to respond to every amendment, every Zillow, whether you think it's fake or real or can afford it. You respond to every Zillow lead. And whenever I would have a day, through the week where I wasn't able to go to bed, literally by the time I left my office, I had to go upstairs, take a shower, and get the kids off to bed, and then start my day again. I'd have to hire another person.
Right.
So I mean, it's like when you see it starting to get away from you. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I have a few wrinkles from those busy years. But you know what? I also have the vacations. I just got one back from myself.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, it is. We have. It'd be my kids are 15 and 17, and it would be a joy if that would be the one thing that would keep me in the business longer. Otherwise, I figure I've got 6 to 10 years left. But you have a certain level of financial.
You're saying if they would come to business with you, or
if they would they would come into business with me, that would keep me going. Otherwise, I know it's a maximum 10-year shelf life, maybe 6, because what the grind it is. And I would say it's no different grind. It's a different grind, but not so different between the real estate side and the mortgage side. I mean, everybody has to know you, not just, like for us, if we want business, we could focus on real estate agents solely. That's it.
100%.
But you don't have that one person. You just got to know everybody. And then once you're successful and you have the contract, there's all the negotiations. You're a babysitter, you're a therapist, you're a master negotiator, all those things. And you're trying to do this on 15 deals in a month.
No one to hold them, no one to fold them to.
And we had when we recorded the last podcast, phones were off, everything else. And then I asked TR, I was like, hey, how's everything going over the last 30 minutes? And she goes, ooh, you're not going to want to see your email. Or whatever. And then you're like, all right, great. Well, that was another, and we fixed the issue. But, there's always something going on. And if you have to deal with everything, the sales, the marketing, the transaction, whatever, there's just no way to do it and make the money you want to make.
But I'm also going to plug, us for being in the business as long as we have, because, there are people that, are wondering if they want to stay in, because, they can get discouraged from a, unsatisfied client, whether it be real or not real. But there's people of all different, flavors out there that sometimes it doesn't mesh, or even just, hey, I've been in the business as long as I have, and I had a month last year that I didn't make $1. If you're starting in the business and you have that, hey, it happens to us too.
That's right.
Being in the business as long as we have. So, if you're going to be successful.
Last February, I closed only 2 deals.
Yeah.
Which I was like,
and I think that was one of the months, that I'm talking about. It was not
what
good.
What the hell?
Yeah. And
And we question still.
Yeah. Am I good enough?
Yeah, absolutely. What did I do wrong? What did I do to F this one up?
But that's what I want to plug for us is that, hey, you guys stick with the business, jump over these hurdles. Everything's a learning experience. And guess what? If you stick around and take your punches, you can literally sit back and fairly relax after, the decades in business. That's why sometimes we get chosen, because there might not be anything that we can't handle. You know what I'm saying? It's like, right. It's going to be different. You're going to pick it up and it's going to look a little different color and all this other stuff, right. But it's going to be something similar that you've already gone through. So, if you want to stick in the business, take the punches, roll with it. But, I've been a team leader. So one of the things in my career, I've done a lot of different things, not just a real estate agent, a broker. I'm now a trainer. I work with GREC, with the Professional Standards Committee. I'm with my, board, local board. I'm doing a lot of their committees, leadership committees, the RPAC, raising political dollars, for our industry. So I'm doing a lot of that. And that's what's taking some of my time, so I can, give some leads to other people in the office. But, I lost my thought.
You lost your thought. TR gets over and gives it the 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
It happens. But, but that's the thing, too, as I say, in networking as well, all of that's helping your business as well. Mm-hmm. You may be doing it because, you're at that stage of career, you want to give back everything else. But every tennis team that I've played on, every organization I've been part of, start, whatever, it's exposure. The B&I mentality says visibility plus credibility, VCP. Visibility plus credibility equals profitability. Sorry. And so the more you're out there doing what you do and knowing what you know.
And I mean, I'm going to touch on that too. There might be people, you don't necessarily have to be Mr. or Mrs. Personality to be in real estate to be successful.
Right.
You can be an introvert, but as long as you stick with, working, I'm going to close the circle. I know what I was going to say. You'll be successful. Stick with it, even if you have bad months, even if you have bad weeks, even if you have bad clients. Yep. As long as you treat it as a job, that's a 40-hour-a-week job that you get up, you get dressed for, yep. and you commit to doing it every day. And that's as a team leader. I had 72 agents underneath me, yep. when I was recruited by a brokerage to train people. People would come in and boohoo all the time, but they never, none of them that worked successful did the things I asked them to do the week prior.
Right. And by the way, we're probably going to blow through our time. And I have a phone call that's going to be coming in, but it's not a client phone call. It is something else, so I can let that and go to voicemail. But one of the things that I pride myself on is that I made it through the recession. I'll stand up in front of a crowd and say, guess what? I made it through a recession. I made it through a pandemic, never got out. And the scary thing about what you do and what I do is you just can't say, I want to take a year off. You might as well have never been in the business before. So I would hire loan officers, starting in 2010, 2011 that got out because they couldn't cut it in 2008, 2009, or 2010. And they're like, but I've got these agents that I had back from 2007. Man, those agents are gone. Your past clients are gone.
You have to touch them. Yeah. You have to let them know they're special. I mean, they are special.
Absolutely, they are. I mean, it's a high touch thing, but I pat myself on the back in front of folks and say, never got out of the business. 2005, I got in. Never got out of the business. And I also say, it wasn't hard for us not to get out of the business in the pandemic because we were making more money than we ever should have.
I don't know about that. Because I mean, I probably had 30 or 40 terminations,
Oh, really?
March and April of 2020.
Oh,
because I had so many things under and I actually have never gone back to that,
right.
which a lot of people
go back to what?
No matter what their business or industry was, I was going 90 miles an hour before the pandemic hit.
Yep.
Probably had all the time 100 listings.
Yeah. All
the time 30 or 40 things under contract.
Yep.
And they started dropping off, being terminated. I'm not going to renew. I don't want people in my house. I want my listing pulled. Yep. I also had at the time, I think, 200 properties under management. And then when the the management contractor come available, they're like, we're going to sell it because we don't know what's going on with the world.
Well, and the property values were skyrocketing.
Yeah. So I haven't gone back to that, but I could. I was
back to that volume.
You're right.
Okay.
I have not, and I think a lot of people have done that. So I've never had that much volume since, but I'm okay with that. I didn't do it necessarily on purpose. I just found out I didn't have to after it was
accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, I'm like going, sometimes you're never going to do something unless it's forced on you.
That's right.
So I'm like, okay, I don't need that many listings. I don't need to go 90 miles an hour anymore. And so yeah. But do I work full time? Absolutely. Do I have a lot of experience? Absolutely. And do I have great contacts like you in the business to make things more easy? I absolutely do.
Yeah, and you can tell when we're dealing with a seasoned agent as well. They don't strangle a deal. But on the flip side, when you refer me a deal, it's going to be handled well. You don't have to sweat it. And that's important. Those same relationships. I'm sure you have multiple inspectors that are not deal killers. You've got the closing attorney right above your office. Right above your office.
Yep.
Yeah, right above your office, and that makes things nice. And those relationships, relationships in general are what have made our lives. And whether you're in the business or not, relationships to me, they're the lifeblood of. When you wake up and only care about yourself, that'd be awful.
No, what I have built has been, for my kids, and to take it and run with it. I'm glad they're enjoying it. I'm glad they're loving it. But also, as I'm out in the industry, I went to the NAR convention in Atlanta in February. It's in Atlanta most every year. There's 2 conventions I go to every year across the nation. And I had a broker, very successful broker, who is now a director also with NAR, come up to me and cried to me for about 2 hours. He said, if I wouldn't have met you 10 years ago, I would never have stayed in real estate.
Really?
I'm getting tingles right now.
That's awesome.
Throw his name. Maybe you can even meet him one day. But he came in, he was actually a teacher, and he had his license on standby, part-time. And even though he was a teacher and he had a real estate license and did a couple deals every year, he was married, he had a couple kids, and he was on WIC.
Okay.
So this is when I was a team leader for a particular company, and so I was hired to transition agents to become better agents, or what they needed to do, and I would have meetings with him weekly. And he's one of the people that actually did do what I told him to do every week. And he was just crying. He now has 5 kids. He goes, I would have never had 5 kids, Stephen. I'm like, you're literally responsible for little beings in this world because I did what you told me to do.
Right.
And after 3 years, I opened my own brokerage. I now have 30 agents underneath of me. He goes, my wife no longer needs to work. I have 3 cars in the driveway. I have my own personal house. He's like, I take vacations on a regular basis, and I wouldn't have done it if I wouldn't have listened to you.
That's great.
And so, again, what I say is real. There are some success stories out there.
No, there are.
Stick with it.
There are. It actually makes me think, have you ever seen the movie A Knight's Tale? Do you remember what that is? It's probably 15, 20 years old, but Heath Ledger, who's
then I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, all right. They use the
Is
word,
his brother in it too?
no, change your stars. So he was a squire for, it's really interesting. The premise of the movie is set back in the Renaissance days with knights and stuff. But, and I can't believe I'm going on this long tangent, but I'm going, now I'm knee deep in. And his dad was like a fisher net mender or whatever. And he got the opportunity to pawn his son off on a knight to go be a squire. And he's like, son, go change your stars. And of course, he's running around and you see him and he's like, 6 years old. Well, next thing you know, he's 20 years old and the knight dies. And he's got this little team of like 3 guys around him. And he's instead of just saying, oh, we'll give up, we'll go back home, Heath Ledger put on the knight's outfit, pretended to be him, and all of a sudden started winning all these things or whatever, and met princesses and really changed his stars.
Wow.
And so when you tell me about that, the guy that used to be a teacher, it's.
And one of the things I did tell him is I go, if you want to make money in real estate, you're going to have to go all in. And he's like, but I've been a teacher for like 3 or 4 years, and I went to school for it. And I said, you have to be all in.
Change your stars.
And I will say, I gave him a guarantee.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I still have that in my brokerage.
Okay.
I'm like, if you do everything that I say you're going to do, and if you don't make $100,000 the first year, I will supplement. I will pay the difference.
Nice.
And so he took that plunge, and guess what? I never had to supplement him. He actually had 1 month that he made $30,000.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. We might have to do a part 2. Maybe I'll take all this. I know.
Are we talkers?
We're talkers. Well, yeah, we're so much at similar stages of life and our career and stuff, so it's a lot of fun. But I really appreciate you being here and driving the hour and a half to get here. So, so maybe next time I'll pack all this stuff up and we'll come do it at your office, so I'll drive the hour.
Okay, sounds good.
Y'all go follow Kimberly Yates. Actually, what's the best way for them to find you?
Kimberly Yates, Yates Estates, KimberlyYates.com or YatesEstatesGA.com. If you just do Yates Estates, it actually is an inn in Ireland, maybe one that you've seen.
Maybe I didn't know.
So you have to do YatesEstatesGA.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank y'all all for watching. Thank you, Kimberly, for coming, for being a friend as well. And thanks for checking out Putting the Real in Real Estate, y'all. Take care.